Because fundamentally, con artists, manipulators, scammers, cheaters, grifters, they have it baked into their character. It's an attitude, and you can learn to sniff that out. You can develop an intuition for it. So here, I'm going to give you a long list of ways in which you can start to sniff this out. So for example, if you're promised grandiose promises or lots of promises, and the person tends to exaggerate and to boast, this is a red flag. If someone is promising to make you rich quick or to bring you lots of business, this is a red flag. If somebody is overly slick, very charismatic, a really good storyteller, very extroverted, just like has a very captivating personality, very eloquent, dresses very nice, has a great style. All of these are a red flag. Now, of course, a lot of times people just dress nice and they're extroverted and they're eloquent and they're normal. They're not con artists and they're not going to scam you. But it's definitely a red flag you want to be careful about, because eloquence and style and this kind of flash and this kind of like smooth talking, this is a great way to let down your guard that allows you to be scammed. Because then you start to trust the person, you develop a rapport with the person, you feel like they're your best friend, you feel like they're such a good storyteller, they're so funny, so eloquent, they're so stylish, they're so charismatic, that you forget about the actual substance of the business deal, you forget about the nitty-gritty details, you forget to ask hard, penetrating questions, and then you end up getting screwed. In general, you ask the question, does this sound too good to be true? And if it sounds too good to be true, that's a red flag. You have to also get good at sussing out low intellectual integrity people. Some people just have low intellectual integrity. They don't care about the truth. And that's a huge red flag. When someone doesn't care about the truth, doesn't value the truth, that basically gives them license to engage in deception and falsehood. So it's important to figure out the person you're dealing with, the company you're dealing with, do they value truth? And if they don't, that's a huge red flag, and you should not be doing business with them. You should not be in a relationship with them. You should not be in a partnership with them. Because truth is the foundation for everything. If you don't have truth, you're going to have falsehood. You're going to have illusion, delusion, lying, cheating, bullshit. That's the opposite of truth. It also helps for you to be able to assess a person's level of ego development. And if you want help for how to do that, I have several video series. I have my entire Spiral Dynamics video series that helps you to understand cognitive development. And then I also have a 3-part series called The 9 Stages of Ego Development, which explains the Susan Kugreiter model. If you study that model and you go through some of those stages yourself, you become good enough that you can actually see what stage of development an individual or even a corporation or a group of people are operating from, what spiral stage and what ego development stage. And this gives you a good idea of how likely it is that these people will try to exploit you. The lower the stage, the lower the level of ego development, the more exploitative and scammy these individuals or groups are going to be. And even just like if you're trying to get into an intimate relationship, it's really good to be able to assess your partner's level of spiral development and ego development. And if their level is too low, like you shouldn't be having sex with this person. You shouldn't be turning them into your girlfriend or boyfriend. You shouldn't be marrying them, certainly. You shouldn't be having children with them. And yet a lot of people just overlook this, and then they, they have sex, they become girlfriend, boyfriend, they get married, they have children. And by the time all that's done, it's too late. They didn't assess the person's level of development, and now they're wedded to this very low consciousness, low level of development individual. And there's really nothing you can do to solve that other than to leave. And then by that point, you're so invested, it's very difficult to leave, very painful to leave. Another red flag is, are your emotions being manipulated? So look how this works. Fear, greed, lust, hunger, anger, laziness, desperation, love. These are the emotions that are used to separate you from your money. Another red flag is a shortcut being promised? Are you being promised some sort of magical shortcut to avoid doing hard work? If you are, see, what that really is the con artist preying on your laziness. Most people are so lazy, they don't want to work hard. They don't want to work for years and decades to earn their wealth. They want some quick solution. They want a shortcut. They don't want to go to the gym and work out for 6 months to lose their weight. They don't want to change their diet. They don't want to learn some deep skill set that's going to take them a decade to master. They want some shortcut. And then those shortcuts are what you're sold. And of course, most of those shortcuts don't work. And they end up disappointing you, or even worse, they end up wasting your time and even hurting your health, your wealth, and your happiness. So beware of when a thing sounds too easy or too fast. It usually isn't true. Ask yourself the question, what is the true cost of a thing? A lot of times people get scammed because they don't appreciate the true cost of things. Like, what's the true cost of being healthy and fit? In reality, the true cost of that is changing your diet, learning about nutrition, going to the gym, working out every single day, caring about your health. That's the true cost. That's the kind of stuff that nobody wants to do, that everybody wants a sort of a magic shortcut around. Or like, what's the true cost of being financially independent and having a passive income? The true cost of that is not $1,000. Purchasing a $1,000 course to become financially independent, you can just see that it doesn't add up. The true cost of having an actually sustainable, stable, passive income, to get that, usually you'd have to work your ass off for 5, 10, 20 years to get something like that. And something like that is worth hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. Nobody's going to sell that to you in a course for $1,000. Another way to make yourself immune to getting scammed is ask lots of nuanced questions and be very detail-oriented. Ask a lot of questions to the point where you start to annoy the person. Annoy the salesperson with your questions. Let them be annoyed. Get all the details you need, because it's in those details that you start to see contradictions and problems. You start to see the bullshit. Things don't add up. Ask for full pricing. A lot of times you go into a situation and the way the system is designed is that you feel uncomfortable, or you almost feel bad for asking about the full pricing of a thing. Like, a lot of times you go to a dentist and the dentist is offering you certain services. Once you're in the dentist chair, they will offer you upgrades and additional services. And you're just afraid or embarrassed to ask for the full price before you okay the procedure. And a lot of times they screw you over that way. So make a rule with yourself that you're not going to agree to any procedure or to any kind of purchase unless you have the full price beforehand. So if a doctor wants to prescribe you medicine, ask them the price first before you agree to the prescription. If a dentist wants to do a procedure on you, ask him the full price. Ask him to print it out on a piece of paper so you have it before you agree to anything. And if they don't want to give it to you, or they're giving you excuses, which a lot of times they'll do, they'll give you excuses like, oh, we don't know the true price, or like, oh, we'll have to talk to insurance, or we can discuss that later. Stuff like don't settle for those kinds of excuses. Get the full price. And if you don't get the full price, they don't want to give you the full price, they don't know the full price, tell them then my decision is no, I'm not purchasing that. Another question you should ask yourself when you're investigating these situations is like, is this sustainable? A lot of these solutions that are sold are simply unsustainable, and it's pretty obvious. A lot of people, they don't have a mind or an eye for sustainability. For me personally, whenever I go into a business deal or I'm considering some investment or a partnership with somebody or whatever, I'm always thinking about sustainability. Is this sustainable long term? Because most scammers and con artists, they're very short-term thinkers. They're not thinking long-term about anything. They're not thinking about sustainability. They're looking for some sort of house of cards that looks like it's sustainable, but then it'll collapse as soon as you pull one of the cards a little bit. It all falls down.